The autumn wind cut through the cemetery like a knife through flesh. Dead leaves skittered across weathered headstones, rustling in the gathering dusk. Grismasters stood motionless before a small granite marker, his massive frame casting a long shadow in the fading light. 5 years. 5 years of weekly visits. 5 years of bringing white lilies. 5 years of talking to a ghost. His weathered hands, scarred and tattooed from a life lived hard, clutched the bouquet tighter. The petals trembled in the wind, delicate and pure against his rough skin. He knelt slowly, his knees protesting the movement. At 45, he felt ancient, worn down by grief and regret, until there was barely anything left of the man he used to be. "Hey, baby girl," he whispered, his voice rough as gravel. "Brought your favorite flowers again." The headstone was simple, clean, just a name and two dates that marked 5 short years of life. Lily Masters, beloved daughter, forever in our hearts. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Dark clouds gathered overhead, heavy with rain that matched the storm perpetually raging in Griz's chest. He didn't care. He barely noticed anymore. The weather could rage all it wanted. Nothing could touch the cold that lived inside him. He traced the letters of her name with one thick finger, the same ritual he performed every week. The carved granite was cool beneath his touch, smooth and permanent. Unlike everything else in his life that had shattered and burned. "I'm sorry," he murmured, the words catching in his throat like they always did. "I'm so damn sorry I couldn't protect you." The familiar guilt washed over him in waves. Guilt for the life he'd led before, for the dangers he'd brought close to his family, for the choices that had cost him everything. Rain began to fall, soft at first, then harder, dotting the stone with dark spots. Grizz didn't move. He stayed there, letting the cold drops soak through his leather jacket, remembering. Her laugh, her smile, the way she'd reach for him with tiny hands. All gone now, all buried in the ground beneath his boots. A flash of lightning split the sky, followed by a low growl of thunder. Grizz pushed himself to his feet, his joints aching. He bowed his head, offering a quiet prayer, something he'd only started doing after losing everything. Before, he'd believed in nothing but himself and his brothers in the club. Now he prayed to a God he wasn't sure was listening, begging forgiveness for sins he could never atone for. "I'll be back next week, Lily," he promised, his voice thick. "I'll always come back." He turned to leave, collar pulled up against the rain, when something caught his eye. A small figure huddled at the edge of Lily's grave. Grizz's heart stuttered in his chest. He blinked hard, thinking the rain was playing tricks on his vision. But no, she was real. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, sat there in the wet grass, her shoulders shaking with quiet sobs. She clutched something in her small hands. The protective instinct that had never quite died, even after all these years of having nothing left to protect, surged through him. He hesitated, torn between walking away and checking on the child. But he couldn't leave her there, not like that, not crying alone in a cemetery in the rain. Moving carefully, trying not to frighten her, he took a few steps closer. Now he could see what she was holding. A photograph crumpled slightly from her tight grip. The rain was falling steadier now, but the little girl seemed oblivious to it, lost in her own grief. Grizz's boots crunched softly on the wet gravel as he approached. Something about her presence here at this specific grave made his skin prickle with unease. This wasn't right. This wasn't normal. "Hey," he said softly, keeping his voice gentle despite its natural roughness. "You okay, sweetheart?" The little girl raised her tear-stained face to look out of him, raindrops mixed with her tears, streaming down her cheeks. She gripped the photograph tighter, her small knuckles white with tension. Grizz's breath caught in his throat. Her eyes, they were the same shade of hazel as his wife's had been, the same exact color. "Mister," her voice trembled, small and afraid. Are you Grizz Masters?" The world tilted sideways, his mouth went dry. He managed a short nod, his heart thundering against his ribs so hard he thought it might break through. How did this child know his name? The girl's face crumpled with fresh tears as she held out the wrinkled photograph with shaking hands. Grizz took it, his own hands trembling. The world seemed to stop spinning. The photo was one he remembered well, too well. A sunny day at the park, his wife Sarah laughing as she held their baby girl. He stood beside them, younger and happier, his arm around Sarah's shoulders. The edges of the photo were worn as if someone had handled it countless times, kept it close, looked at it over and over. This was his family photo, taken just weeks before everything fell apart. Where his voice failed him. He tried again. Where did you get this? The little girl wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Her bottom lip quivered as she looked up at him, studying his face with an intensity that made his chest ache. She searched his features like she was memorizing them, like she was looking for something she'd been told to find. Then she spoke the words that shattered Grizz's world into a million pieces. Mommy says you're my daddy. Grizz staggered backward, his legs nearly giving out. The photograph shook in his grip as memories crashed over him like waves trying to drown him. The accident, the funeral, the endless nights of grief, the bottle, the fights, the darkness. But this child, this living, breathing child standing in front of him in the rain. That's impossible, he rasped, but even as he said it, he could see the truth written in her face. Sarah's eyes, his own features in the set of her jaw, the curve of her cheeks. My daughter. He couldn't finish. The words died in his throat. No, the little girl said softly, shaking her head. Rain plastered her dark hair to her forehead. Mommy took me away when I was little, but she got sick, and before she died, she told me about you. She said I needed to find my real daddy. The ground seemed to drop out from under him. Grizz found himself on his knees in the wet grass, heedless of the mud soaking through his jeans. Horrible, impossible pieces began falling into place in his mind. Not dead, not buried here, taken. His hands trembled as he reached out, hesitating just inches from the child's shoulder. He was afraid to touch her, afraid she'd disappear like smoke if he tried. What's your name, sweetheart? He managed to ask, though he already knew. He knew it in his bones, in his soul, in every fiber of his being. She looked straight into his eyes, and in that moment there was no doubt. None at all. Lily, she said softly. My name is Lily. The sound that escaped Grizz's throat was somewhere between a sob and a gasp. 5 years of grief, of guilt, of endless mourning crashed down around him in that single moment. 5 years of visiting an empty grave. 5 years of believing his daughter was dead. His daughter wasn't dead. His little girl was alive, standing right in front of him, real and solid and breathing. Grizz pulled her into his arms without thinking, without hesitation. She came willingly, her small body fitting against his chest like a piece of a puzzle he thought was lost forever. He buried his face in her wet hair and wept, great wrenching sobs that shook his entire frame. Lily wrapped her small arms around his neck and held on tight. I found you, she whispered. I found you, Daddy. Yeah, baby, Grizz choked out. You found me. The rain poured down harder, but neither of them moved. They stayed there, kneeling in the mud beside an empty grave, holding each other as the storm raged around them. Father and daughter, reunited by fate or miracle or sheer impossible chance. After what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, Grizz pulled back enough to look at Lily's face, really look at her. She was beautiful, perfect, 5 years old and alive and real. We need to get you somewhere warm, he said, his voice still rough with emotion. You're soaking wet. He stood lifting her easily in his arms. She weighed almost nothing. He could feel her shivering against him, whether from cold or emotion or both. Are you really my daddy? Lily asked, her voice small and uncertain. Yeah, baby, I really am. And you won't leave me, you won't let anyone take me away. The fear in her voice broke something in Grizz's chest. Whatever had happened to her in the past 5 years, it had taught her to be afraid. taught her that the people she loved could disappear. I promise, he said fiercely, holding her tighter. I will never let anyone take you from me again. Never. He carried her through the cemetery toward the parking lot where his motorcycle waited. The rain had soaked them both through, but Grizz barely felt it. All he could feel was the solid weight of his daughter in his arms, the reality of her, the miracle of her. At his bike, he shrugged off his leather jacket and wrapped it around her small frame. It swallowed her completely, but at least it was dry on the inside. Have you ever been on a motorcycle? He asked. Lily shook her head, eyes wide. It's okay, I'll go slow. You just hold on tight to me, all right? He settled her in front of him on the seat, her small body pressed against his chest. She gripped his shirt with both hands. Grizz started the engine, feeling it rumble to life beneath them. As they pulled out of the cemetery, Grizz glanced back once at the empty grave. The headstone with his daughter's name on it stood in the rain, marking a lie, a theft, a crime he was only beginning to understand. Someone had taken his daughter, made him think she was dead, stolen 5 years of her life, and Grizz Masters was going to find out who and why. But first he needed to get Lily somewhere safe and warm. He needed to hear her story. He needed to understand how his dead daughter had come back to life. The neon sign of Joe's Diner buzzed overhead as Grizz guided Lily through the door. A bell chimed cheerfully, incongruous with the storm of emotions raging in his chest. The warmth inside was a stark contrast to the cold rain they'd left behind. The diner was nearly empty, just a couple of truckers at the counter and an elderly woman in a corner booth. The waitress looked up as they entered, her eyes widening slightly at the sight of the massive, soaking wet biker carrying a small child wrapped in a leather jacket. Grizz chose a booth in the back, away from the other customers. The vinyl seats squeaked as they slid in, facing each other across the worn Formica table. Lily's small hands still clutched the photograph, her thumbs running over its edges in a nervous pattern. She looked so tiny sitting there. Her wet hair created dark patches on her yellow t-shirt. Her feet didn't even reach the floor, swinging slightly beneath the table. Grizz's mind raced, trying to make sense of everything that had happened in the past hour. His daughter was alive. The words kept repeating in his head like a mantra. Alive, alive, alive. Coffee, the waitress appeared, notepad in hand. Her name tag read Betty. She looked between the tattooed giant and the little girl with curiosity but no judgment. Yeah, Grizz said, his voice coming out rougher than he intended. And he looked at Lily. You hungry, sweetheart? Lily nodded slightly, her eyes fixed on the table. Hot chocolate, Grizz asked softly. Another small nod. Hot chocolate and pancakes, please, with extra syrup. Betty scribbled the order and walked away. Grizz rubbed his face with both hands, his wedding ring catching the fluorescent light. He hadn't taken it off in 5 years. Even after Sarah's death, he'd kept wearing it, a reminder of what he'd lost, what he'd failed to protect. Now everything he thought he knew felt like a lie. Lily, he said gently, leaning forward. Can you tell me about the woman who raised you, the one you called Mommy? Lily's fingers tightened on the photograph. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. Her name was Anna. Anna Morrison. Lily glanced up at him, then back down. She was nice to me. She said she loved me. The words hit Grizz like a punch to the gut. Another woman had loved his daughter, raised her, been called Mommy by her. Did she? He had to swallow hard before he could continue. Did she treat you good? Yeah, Lily nodded. She bought me toys and read me stories. She said I was special. A tear slid down her cheek. But then she got really sick last month. She had to go to the hospital lots. The coffee arrived, steam rising from the dark liquid. Grizz wrapped his hands around the hot mug to stop them from shaking. Before she went to heaven, Lily continued, her voice breaking, she gave me this picture and told me where to find you. She said, another tear. She said she was sorry, that she took me away from my real daddy and it was wrong. Grizz felt his throat tighten. Did Anna tell you why she took you, sweetheart? Lily shook her head, tears streaming faster now. She just said she was sorry over and over, and that I needed to find you because you'd keep me safe. Safe. The word echoed in Grizz's mind. He'd failed to keep his daughter safe 5 years ago. Someone had taken her, and he hadn't even known, hadn't even suspected. He'd believed the lie so completely that he'd buried an empty casket and mourned a living child. He reached across the table, palm up, an offering, an invitation. After a moment, Lily placed her tiny hand in his. Her fingers were cold and impossibly small. Listen to me, Lily, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I'm going to find out what happened. Why you were taken from us. Why someone made me think. He couldn't finish the sentence. The pancakes arrived, a tall stack steaming with butter melting on top. Betty set them down with a gentle smile at Lily, then disappeared. Lily picked up her fork but didn't eat, just watched Grizz with those eyes that were so much like Sarah's it hurt to look at them. Grizz pulled out his phone with his free hand, not wanting to let go of Lily's fingers. He scrolled through his contacts until he found the number he needed. It had been 3 years since he'd called it, but he knew it was time. Maria Blackwood picked up on the fourth ring. Blackwood, she said, her voice crisp and professional. Maria, it's Grizz Masters. A long pause. Grizz Jesus, it's been. I know, I need your help. He squeezed Lily's hand gently. It's about my daughter. Grizz, I'm sorry, but I can't. She's alive, Maria. Silence on the other end of the line. What? My daughter, Lily. She's alive. Someone took her. Made me think she died with Sarah 5 years ago. I need to know who did this and why. Another long pause. When Maria spoke again, her voice was careful, measured. Are you sure about this, Grizz? Are you okay? She's sitting right across from me, he said quietly. She has Sarah's eyes. She has the photo from our last family picnic. She knows things only Lily would know. He heard Maria sigh heavily on the other end. This isn't going to be easy, Grizz. You know that, right? We're talking about opening up old wounds, dealing with people who went to a lot of trouble to hide the truth. I know. If she was taken, if this was organized, these aren't just street thugs we're dealing with. I know, Grizz repeated, but I have to do this for her. Where are you now? Joe's Diner on 5th Street. Stay there. I'm 20 minutes out. Don't talk to anyone else. Don't go anywhere. Just sit tight. Maria, Grizz said before she could hang up. Yeah, thank you. Don't thank me yet. We don't know what we're walking into here. The line went dead. Grizz set his phone down and looked at Lily, who had finally started eating her pancakes in small, careful bites. Who was that? She asked quietly. A friend, someone who's going to help us figure out what happened. Is she nice? Yeah, baby, she's nice. She's a detective. She helps people. Lily nodded, seeming satisfied with that answer. She took another bite of pancake syrup, coating her lips. The simple domesticity of the moment felt surreal, like a dream Grizz might wake up from at any second. But she was real. The weight of her hand in his, the sound of her breathing, the sight of her sitting there, alive and whole. Lily, he said carefully, do you remember anything from before, from when you were a baby? She shook her head, just what Anna told me. She said my first mommy and daddy loved me very much. She showed me pictures sometimes. What else did Anna tell you? Lily set down her fork, thinking hard. She said my first mommy went to heaven in a car accident, and that my daddy was very sad and couldn't take care of me anymore, so she took care of me instead. Lies, all lies. Grizz felt anger burning in his chest, hot and fierce, but he kept his face calm for Lily's sake. Did Anna have any friends, anyone who came to visit? Sometimes Miss Patricia came over. She was nice, but kind of sad. Anna said Miss Patricia had lost something important and never found it again. Do you remember Miss Patricia's last name? Lily scrunched up her face trying to remember. Reeves, I think? Patricia Reeves. Grizz filed the name away. Every detail mattered now. Every piece of information could lead him to the truth. They sat in silence for a while, Lily eating her pancakes while Grizz drank his coffee and tried to process everything. His mind kept circling back to the same questions. Who had taken his daughter? How had they pulled it off? The accident had been real. Sarah had died. The car had crashed. But Lily had been taken from the wreckage. Hidden. Given to this Anna Morrison woman. And why? What was the purpose of stealing a child and making everyone think she was dead? The diner door chimed, and Maria Blackwood walked in. She was in her early 40s with short dark hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She wore jeans and a leather jacket, a detective's shield clipped to her belt. Her eyes found Grizz, immediately then moved to the small girl sitting across from him. Maria's expression shifted through several emotions in quick succession: surprise, disbelief, recognition. She slid into the booth next to Grizz, her eyes never leaving Lily. Holy shit, she breathed. She looks just like Sarah. Maria, this is Lily. Lily, this is Miss Maria. She's going to help us. Hi, Lily said shyly. Maria's professional mask slipped back into place. Hi, sweetheart. It's nice to meet you. She looked at Grizz. Can we talk privately? They stepped outside, leaving Lily visible through the window. Grizz kept his eyes on her the whole time. Yes, Tell me everything, Maria said. Grizz recounted the events at the cemetery, Lily's appearance, the photo, everything she'd told him about Anna Morrison. Maria pulled out a small notebook and took notes, her expression growing darker with each detail. Anna Morrison, she muttered. That name sounds familiar. Lily mentioned another name, Patricia Reeves. Maria's head snapped up. Patricia Reeves. We arrested her 3 years ago. She was part of a trafficking operation. Grizz felt his blood run cold. Trafficking as in children. She worked with a partner who we never caught. They specialized in infants and toddlers. Maria's eyes were hard. We suspected her partner continued operating after Patricia went to prison, but we could never prove it. Anna Morrison was the partner. It's possible. More than possible. Maria flipped through her notebook. Patricia served 18 months, got out on good behavior about a year ago. If we can find her, she might talk. Grizz's hands clenched into fists. Someone stole my daughter and sold her. That's what it looks like. Maria put a hand on his arm. But Grizz, listen to me. We need to be smart about this. If there's a trafficking operation involved, these people are dangerous. They have connections, money, influence. I don't care. That's my little girl in there. I know. And we're going to find out what happened. But we do this right, by the book. Otherwise, they'll disappear and we'll never get answers. Grizz took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. Maria was right. He couldn't just go charging in with fists swinging like he would have in the old days. He had Lily to think about now. He had to be smart. What do we do first? First, we need to get Lily somewhere safe, somewhere official. I know a foster family, the Andersons. Good people. They'll take care of her while we investigate. No, the word came out harder than Grizz intended. I just got her back. I'm not letting her out of my sight. Grizz, you are not her legal guardian. Not yet. We need to do this right. Get the paperwork sorted. Prove she's really your daughter. It'll take time. I can't lose her again, Maria. You won't, I promise. The Andersons live 20 minutes from here. You can visit every day, call every night. But if these people figure out she's alive, if they come looking for her, she can't be with you. You're the first place they'll look. Grizz hated it, but he knew she was right. He looked through the window at Lily, who was drawing on a napkin with a crayon Betty had given her. How long? A few days, maybe a week, just until we figure out what we're dealing with. Grizz nodded slowly. Okay, but I need to explain it to her. She needs to know I'm not abandoning her. They went back inside. Grizz slid into the booth and took Lily's hand again. Lily, sweetheart, I need to talk to you about something important. She looked up at him with those Sarah eyes, and Grizz's heart broke all over again. Miss Maria knows a really nice family. The Andersons. They have a big house with a yard and everything. You're going to stay with them for a little while, okay? Lily's eyes filled with tears. You're sending me away. No, baby, no. Grizz squeezed her hand. Never, but there are sure some bad people out there. The people who took you away from me before. And I need to make sure they can't hurt you while I figure out who they are. But I want to stay with you. I know, and you will, soon, I promise. But right now, the safest place for you is with the Andersons. And I'll visit you every single day. I'll call you every night before bed. You'll never be alone, okay? Lily was crying now, with silent tears streaming down her cheeks. You promise you'll come back. You won't forget about me. The question destroyed him. I could never forget about you, Lily. Never. You're my daughter, my little girl. I've been looking for you every day for 5 years, even when I thought you were gone. Now that I know you're alive, nothing in this world could keep me away. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Okay, Daddy. Daddy. The word hit him like a blessing and a curse all at once. Maria made some calls, and within an hour they were at the Anderson home. It was a modest suburban house with a white picket fence and a swing set in the backyard. Mrs. Anderson was a kind-faced woman in her 50s who took one look at Lily and immediately pulled her into a gentle hug. Oh, sweetheart, you're soaking wet. Let's get you into some dry clothes and something warm to eat. Grizz knelt down in front of Lily one more time. I'll be back tomorrow, okay, and I'll call you tonight before bed. Promise, cross my heart. Lily threw her arms around his neck and held on tight. Grizz hugged her back, memorizing the feel of her, the smell of her hair, the sound of her breathing. I love you, baby girl, he whispered. I love you too, Daddy. Walking away from that house was one of the hardest things Grizz had ever done. Every instinct screamed at him to turn around, to grab Lily and run, to never let her out of his sight again. But he kept walking, for her sake. In Maria's car, he finally let himself break down. Great heaving sobs that he'd been holding back for hours. Maria drove in silence, letting him grieve and rage and process. We're going to find them, she said quietly when he'd finally calmed down. Whoever did this, we're going to make them pay. Damn right we are. Maria's office was small and cluttered. Filing cabinets lined the walls, and her desk was buried under stacks of manila folders and case files. It was late evening now, the sun long set. Coffee cups littered the desk, evidence of a long day that it wasn't over yet. Grizz sat in a worn leather chair that creaked under his weight while Maria methodically sorted through files on her computer. I pulled everything I could find on Anna Morrison, she said, squinting at her screen. Died 4 weeks ago from pancreatic cancer. Stage 4, she was in hospice for the last 2 weeks. Where did she live? Small apartment on the east side. I've got a contact in the PD who can get us access tomorrow. What about Patricia Reeves? That's trickier. She got out of prison 14 months ago. Did her time stay clean as far as we can tell? Last known address is, Maria clicked through screens, an apartment downtown. But Grizz, we can't just go knocking on her door. If she's still involved in trafficking, we tip our hand too early and everyone scatters. Grizz leaned forward, elbows on his knees. So what do? We build a case. We find evidence. We connect the dots. Maria pulled up another file. The trafficking ring Patricia was part of, they specialized in placing children with families who couldn't have kids of their own. For a price. How much are we talking? 50,000, 100,000, sometimes more depending on the child. They targeted vulnerable families, single mothers, drug addicts, people who wouldn't ask too many questions if their kid disappeared. Grizz's jaw tightened. Sarah and I weren't vulnerable. No, you weren't, which means your situation was different. special. Someone specifically targeted you and your family. Why my? That's what we need to find out. Maria leaned back in her chair. Tell me about the accident. Everything you remember. Grizz closed his eyes, the memories flooding back. He'd spent 5 years trying to forget that day. Now he had to relive it. Sarah called me that morning, said she needed to talk. She sounded upset, scared even. His hands clenched into fists. I was at the clubhouse, had been there all night working on a job. What kind of job? The kind I'm not proud of. Grizz opened his eyes. I was running with the Hellraisers back then. We did security for some businesses, protection. Sometimes we moved merchandise that wasn't exactly legal. Maria nodded, not judging, just listening. Sarah hated it, hated what I was becoming. We'd been fighting about it for months. That morning she said she was done. She was taking Lily and leaving, going to her sister's place in Oregon. But she never made it. No, her car crashed on Highway 90, single vehicle accident. They said her brakes failed. The car went off the road and hit a tree. Grizz's voice cracked. She died on impact. They told me Lily was in the car seat, dead too. You identified the bodies, Sarah, yes. But Lily, Grizz swallowed hard. They said the damage was too severe, that I shouldn't see her, that I should remember her the way she was, he couldn't finish. You never actually saw your daughter's body. No. Maria typed rapidly, pulling up the accident report. Her eyes scanned the screen, brow furrowing deeper with each line. Grizz, the responding officer, was a guy named Tom Fletcher. He transferred to a different department 6 months after the accident. So he's now working private security for a company called Wolf Enterprises. The name meant nothing to Grizz, but Maria's expression suggested it should. Who's Wolf? Marcus Wolf, billionaire businessman, import-export real estate, you name it. On paper, he's clean. But there have been rumors for years about his connections to organized crime. Nothing we could ever prove. You think he's involved? I think it's a hell of a coincidence that the officer who responded to your wife's accident now works for one of the most powerful men in the state. Maria pulled up a photo of Marcus Wolf. He was in his mid-50s, distinguished looking with silver hair and an expensive suit. He looked like someone who belonged on the cover of a business magazine, not in a police investigation. We need to talk to Fletcher, Grizz said. Carefully, if Wolf is involved, we can't let him know we're looking into this. Then how? Maria's phone rang. She glanced at the screen, frowned and answered. Blackwood, yes. What? When I'll be right there, and she hung up and started grabbing her jacket. What's wrong? That was one of my contacts at the PD. Anna Morrison's apartment was broken into tonight. Place was tossed. Someone was looking for something. They were out the door in seconds. Anna Morrison's apartment was in a rundown building on the east side, the kind of place where people minded their own business and didn't ask questions. Police tape stretched across the doorway, and a uniformed officer stood guard in the hallway. Maria flashed her badge. Detective Blackwood, this is my consultant, Mr. Masters. The officer nodded them through. Inside the apartment was chaos. Drawers pulled out and dumped, couch cushions slashed open, pictures torn from walls. Someone had been desperate to find something. They did a number on the place, the officer said. Neighbors didn't hear anything, of course. Maria walked through carefully, her trained eye taking in every detail. Grizz followed, his heart pounding. This was where Lily had lived for 5 years. These walls had heard her laughter, her tears, her voice. Look at this, Maria said from the bedroom. Grizz joined her. The bedroom was smaller than the main room, but just as destroyed. A twin bed sat against one wall, pink sheets tangled on the floor. Children's drawings were still taped to the walls, crude crayon pictures of stick figures and rainbows. Lily's room. Grizz picked up one of the drawings. 2 stick figures holding hands, One tall, one small, written in shaky letters at the bottom, "Me and Mama Anna." His chest tightened. "Grizz," Maria said softly. "Over here." She was crouched by the closet, pulling something from behind a panel that had been torn loose. A small fireproof box, the kind people kept important documents in. "They missed this," she said, setting it on the bed. The box was locked, but Maria produced a small tool from her pocket and had it open in seconds. Inside were papers, lots of them. Birth certificates, adoption papers, medical records, all for different children. All forgeries by the look of them. And at the bottom, a leather-bound journal. Maria opened it carefully. The pages were filled with neat handwriting. Dates, names, addresses, amounts of money. "Jesus Christ," Maria breathed. "This is a ledger." She kept records of everything. Grizz leaned closer, scanning the entries. There were dozens. Children placed with families all over the country. Each entry included the child's original name, their new name, where they went, and how much was paid. "This is evidence," Maria said. This could bring down the whole operation." She flipped to a page near the end, and there it was. April 15, 2018. Subject Lily Masters, age 6 months. Placement, self, payment none. Special circumstances requested by MW. Accident staged. Child reported deceased. MW, Marcus Wolf. Grizz felt rage building in his chest like a wildfire. He ordered it. "Wolf ordered them to take my daughter." "It looks that way." Why would he want Lily?" Maria kept reading, her expression growing darker. "According to this, Anna was supposed to place Lily with a specific family, the Hendersons, high-profile couple, couldn't have kids of their own. But Anna," she paused, "Anna kept Lily for herself instead. She didn't complete the placement. She stole her from the people who stole her from me." "Looks like it." Maria photographed every page with her phone. "This is good, Grizz. This is really good, but it's also dangerous. If Wolf finds out we have this," the officer in the hallway called out. "Detective, you're going to want to see this." They went back to the living room. The officer was looking at his phone, his face pale. "What is it?" Maria asked. "Just got a call from dispatch. There's been an incident at the Anderson residence." Grizz's heart stopped. "What kind of incident?" "Break-in. Family's okay, but..." The officer looked at Grizz. "They took a child, a little girl who was staying there temporarily." Grizz was running before the officer finished speaking. Down the stairs, through the building, into Maria's car. She drove with lights flashing, siren wailing, but it wasn't fast enough. Nothing was fast enough. The Anderson house looked peaceful from the outside. No broken windows, no signs of struggle, but the front door hung open and police cars filled the driveway. Grizz was out of the car before it fully stopped. He burst through the door to find Mrs. Anderson sitting on the couch, crying while an officer took her statement. Mr. Anderson had a bruise forming on his jaw. "Where is she?" Grizz demanded. "Where's Lily?" Mrs. Anderson looked up at him with tears streaming. "I'm so sorry. They came so fast. There were 3 of them. We tried to stop them, but..." "Where is she?" Maria grabbed his arm. Grizz calmed down. "Let them tell us what happened." Mr. Anderson spoke up, his voice shaky. 3 men. They kicked in the back door while we were watching TV. One of them held us at gunpoint while the other 2 went upstairs. They grabbed Lily out of bed. She was screaming for you. Grizz felt his knees buckle. Maria held him up. "Did they say anything?" she asked. One of them, Mrs. Anderson, wiped her eyes. "He said to tell Mr. Masters that Mr. Wolf would like to have a conversation. He said Grizz knows how to reach him." Grizz's vision went red. He pulled away from Maria and punched the wall, his fist going through the drywall. The pain helped center him, helped him think through the rage. "We need to call the FBI," Maria was saying to the officers. "This is a kidnapping. We need..." "No." Grizz's voice cut through the room like a knife. No FBI, no police. Grizz, they have my daughter again. He turned to face Maria and she took a step back from the fury in his eyes. Wolf wants to talk, fine. I'll talk to him, but we do this my way now. That's insane. You can't just watch me. Grizz pulled out his phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in 3 years. It rang twice before a familiar voice answered. Bear, it's Grizz. I need the boys. All of them. Tonight. Grizz, brother, it's been years. My daughter's alive, and someone just took her. I'm going to war, and I need my brothers. He at my back. You in or out? A pause. Then, text me the address. We'll be there in an hour. Grizz hung up and looked at Maria. You can help me or get out of my way, but I'm getting my daughter back, and God help anyone who stands between us. Maria stared at him for a long moment. Then she pulled out her own phone. If we're doing this, we're doing it smart. I've got contacts, resources. We use them. Fine, but we move fast. Every minute she's with them is a minute too long. As they coordinated, Grizz's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Mr. Masters, I believe we have something to discuss. The Wolf Tower penthouse. Come alone. Midnight. Bring the journal. Below it, an image. Lily sitting in a chair looking scared but unharmed. Alive. Grizz showed Maria the text. It's a trap, she said. I know. You can't go alone. I won't. He texted back, I'll be there. Then to bear change of plans. Meet me at Joe's diner. 1 hour, come armed. Grizz looked at the photo of Lily one more time. He was coming for her. And this time hell itself wouldn't stop him. The back room of Joe's diner smelled like stale coffee and old leather. Grizz sat at a scarred wooden table Maria across from him as his old brothers filed in one by one. Bear came first. 6'5", 280 pounds of muscle and scars with a beard that could hide small weapons. He'd been Grizz's vice president back in the day. Mouse followed wiry and quick, his eyes constantly moving. He'd handled logistics and intel. Doc arrived last, gray-haired now, but still sharp. He'd patched up more wounds than he'd probably ever admit to. They all wore their old Cuts leather vests with the Hellraiser's patch on the back. Seeing them again hit Grizz harder than he expected. Brother, Bear said, pulling Grizz into a crushing embrace. Been too long. Way too long, Mouse added, shaking his hand. Doc just nodded, his expression somber. He'd always been the quiet one. Thanks for coming, Grizz said once they were all seated. I know it's been years. You call, we come, Bear said simply. That's how it works. Now, what's this about your daughter? Grizz told them everything. The cemetery, finding Lily, the trafficking ring, Marcus Wolf, the kidnapping. With each detail, the expressions around the table grew darker. Jesus Christ, Mouse breathed when Grizz finished. They took your kid. Twice. And I'm getting her back, Grizz said. Tonight. But I need backup. Wolf wants me to come alone to his tower at midnight. It's a trap. Obviously, Doc said, speaking for the first time. Question is, what kind of trap? Maria spread papers on the table. Marcus Wolf owns the entire building. 50 stories. Penthouse takes up the top 3 floors. Security everywhere. Cameras guards the works. So we can't just walk in, Mouse said. No, but I can. Grizz tapped the text message. He's expecting me, and he wants the journal. Which we're not giving him, Maria added. That journal is evidence. It's the only thing that can bring down his entire operation. Bear leaned back his chair, creaking. So what's the play? Grizz outlined the plan. It was risky, maybe suicidal, but it was the only chance they had. He would go to Wolf Tower at midnight as requested. He'd bring a fake journal, something Maria was putting together now with her forensics contacts. It would look real enough to pass a quick inspection. While Grizz kept Wolf busy, the others would breach the building from different entry points. Mouse would handle the security systems. Bear and Doc would locate Lily and extract her. What about guards? Doc asked. Wolf's security is professional, Maria said. Ex-military, most of them. They won't hesitate to use lethal force. Neither will we, Bear said grimly. No. Grizz's voice was hard. No killing unless there's no other choice. Lily's in there. I won't have her traumatized more than she already is. We do this clean if we can. Bear nodded reluctantly. Your call, brother. What about backup? Mouse asked. If this goes sideways, we're going to need an exit strategy. Maria pulled out her phone. I've got people. Not official channels can't risk word getting back to Wolf, but reliable. They'll be staged nearby, ready to move if we call. Then let's gear up, Grizz said, standing. We've got 4 hours. They spent the next 3 hours preparing. Mouse hacked into the building's security grid, mapping camera placements and guard rotations. Bear and Doc checked weapons and equipment. Maria coordinated with her contacts, setting up a perimeter. Grizz sat alone in the corner, staring at the photo of Lily on his phone. She looked so scared in that chair. So small. You okay? Maria asked, sitting down next to him. No, but I will be once she's safe. Grizz, there's something I need to tell you. He looked at her. 10 years ago, my daughter Emma was taken. She was 7. Same kind of operation, trafficking ring targeting vulnerable families. My ex-husband and I had just divorced. I was working a lot. Emma was staying with a babysitter. Maria's voice cracked. One day I came to pick her up and she was just gone. Maria, I've been looking for her ever since, following every lead, working every case even remotely connected to child trafficking. And this journal, she patted her bag. It might have information about Emma, where she went, who took her. Then we get it back, Grizz said. After we get Lily, we use it to find Emma too. Maria nodded, wiping her eyes. I just wanted you to know. This isn't just professional for me. It's personal. I know what you're going through. Then let's go get our girls back. At 11:30, they moved out. Bear and Doc took a service entrance on the east side. Mouse set up in a van across the street, ready to loop security feeds and control access points. Maria stationed herself with her backup team 3 blocks away. Grizz walked through the front door of Wolf Tower alone. The lobby was all marble and chrome, aggressively modern and cold. A security guard sat at a desk, professional but alert. His hand drifted toward his weapon when he saw Grizz. Grizz Masters, Grizz said. Mr. Wolf is expecting me. The guard spoke into his radio, listened to the response, then gestured toward the elevators. Penthouse, direct access. The elevator ride felt endless. Grizz watched the floor numbers climb, his heart pounding. The fake journal was tucked inside his jacket. His gun was in a shoulder holster, hidden but accessible. The elevator opened directly into the penthouse. The space was enormous, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Expensive art on the walls. Furniture that probably cost more than Grizz had earned in his entire life. And sitting in a leather chair by the window sipping scotch was Marcus Wolf. He was exactly as his photo suggested, distinguished, silver-haired, wearing a suit that screamed wealth and power. But his eyes were cold, predatory. Mr. Masters, Wolf said, standing, thank you for coming, though I notice you are early, eager perhaps. Where's my daughter, Derek? I appreciate that. Wolf walked to a bar and poured a second glass of scotch. Drink? I asked you a question, and I'll answer it after we have a conversation. Wolf held out the glass. Humor an old man, Mr. Masters. This doesn't have to be adversarial. Grizz didn't move. You took my daughter twice. It's pretty fucking adversarial. Wolf sighed and set the glass down. I suppose you have a point. Very well, your daughter is safe, unharmed. She's in a room on the floor below, watching cartoons and eating ice cream. She doesn't even know she's in danger. You're lying. Wolf pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and showed it to Grizz. Live video feed? Lily sitting on a bed watching TV, a bowl of ice cream in her lap. She looked calm, content even. Relief flooded through Grizz, followed immediately by rage. I want her, now. And you shall have her, once we conclude our business. You brought the journal. Grizz pulled the fake from his jacket, held it up. Give me Lily first. I'm afraid that's not how this works. You give me the journal. I verify it's genuine. Then you get your daughter. Simple exchange. No deal. Lily first, or I walk out of here and go to every news station in the city with what I know. Wolf's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. That would be unwise, Mr. Masters. You have no proof, no evidence, just the ravings of a grief-stricken father who can't accept his daughter's death. I've got proof, and I've got witnesses. Patricia Reeves will talk. Anna Morrison left records. You're done, Wolf. Patricia Reeves is dead, Wolfie said calmly. Car accident this morning. Very tragic. And Anna Morrison's records were destroyed in a fire at her apartment tonight. Also tragic. Grizz felt his stomach drop. You killed Patricia. I did no such thing. I simply ensured certain loose ends were tied up. As for Anna's records, Wolf smiled. That journal you're holding is the only copy, which is why you're going to give it to my... Like hell I am. Wolf pressed a button on his phone. The TV in the room with Lily changed channels. Now it showed a different view, armed men standing outside her door. One word from me and those men go into that room. Now, I don't think they'll hurt her. That's not really profitable. But accidents happen. Children can be so fragile. Grizz's vision went red. You son of a... The journal, Mr. Masters. Now, Grizz looked at the fake journal in his hands. He needed to buy more time. Bear and Doc needed to reach Lily before Wolf realized the journal wasn't real. Tell me why first, Grizz said. Why her? Why my daughter? Wolf considered this. Curiosity or buying time? Both. Fair enough. Wolf sat back down, taking a sip of his scotch. Your daughter wasn't initially the target, Mr. Masters. Your wife was. Or more specifically, what she knew. Grizz felt ice in his veins. What? Sarah Masters worked as an accountant for Henderson Medical Supply Correct Small Company. Didn't pay much, but she was good with numbers, very good. So good that she noticed discrepancies in their shipping manifests. What does this have to do with... Henderson Medical was a front, one of several companies I used to move merchandise. Not drugs, though that's lucrative too. Children, harvested from vulnerable populations and sold to the highest bidder. Very profitable if you know the market. Grizz wanted to kill him right there, right then, but he forced himself to stay still. Sarah discovered this, he asked. She started asking questions. To the wrong people, people who reported back to me. I couldn't have that. She had to be eliminated. But then I learned she had a daughter, 6 months old, perfect age for placement. And I had a very wealthy client who'd been waiting for the right child. So you staged an accident, killed my wife, took my baby. Precisely, it was elegant really. One problem solved another product acquired. Anna Morrison was supposed to deliver your daughter to the Hendersons. They paid $200,000 for a healthy infant girl. But Anna kept her instead. Yes, that was unexpected and problematic. But Anna went underground, disappeared completely. We couldn't find her or the child until Anna got sick and made the mistake of reaching out to Patricia Reeves. By then it was too late to do anything about it without raising suspicions. So you waited until Anna died. Then you took Lily again. Not quite. Your little reunion in the cemetery was entirely unplanned. Anna's deathbed confession set that in motion. I only learned about it when my people reported seeing you with a child matching your daughter's description. Once I realized what had happened, I had to act quickly. The Hendersons still want their product, and I still have a reputation to maintain. Grizz's fist clenched so hard his knuckles cracked. My daughter isn't a product. To you, perhaps. To me, She's $200,000 plus interest. Money I'm owed, money I intend to collect. You're not selling my daughter. I am, tonight in fact. The Hendersons are waiting downstairs in my conference room. Once I have the journal, once I know there's no other evidence to expose my operation, the transaction will be finalized. They'll take Lily to their home in the Caymans. You'll never see her again. And if you try to fight this, if you go to the authorities, I'll make sure you're charged with Sarah's murder. I have evidence already prepared. Witness statements, physical evidence. You'll spend the rest of your life in prison. You're insane. I'm practical. Now the journal. Last chance, Mr. Masters. In Grizz's earpiece, Mouse's voice crackled. We've got a problem. Extra guards just showed up on the floor below. Bear and Doc are pinned down. Grizz needed to stall longer. If I give you the journal, how do I know you'll let Lily go? You don't. You'll have to trust me. Not likely. Then we're at an impasse. Wolf stood, which means I'll have to force the issue. Guards, please escort Mr. Masters to... The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in a second later, bathing everything in red. Alarms blared. What the hell, Thoy? Wolf barked into his phone. Report. What's happening? Mouse's voice in Grizz's ear. Bought you some time. Building's on lockdown. Guards are scrambling. Grizz lunged across the space between him and Wolf. He grabbed the older man by the throat and slammed him against the window. Where is she? Exact location. Now. Wolf gasped, clawing at Grizz's hands. Floor below. East wing. Room 4912. Grizz released him and ran for the stairs. Behind him, he could hear Wolf shouting into his phone, calling for security. The stairwell was chaos. Guards running up and down trying to figure out what was happening. Grizz fought his way through, using his size and momentum to barrel past anyone in his way. Bear, Doc, I'm coming to you. East Wing Room 4912. Copy, Bear's voice crackled back. We're taking fire. Move fast. Grizz burst through the door to the 49th floor. Gunshots echoed down the hallway. He pulled his own weapon and ran toward the sound. Bear and Doc were pinned behind a corner, exchanging fire with 3 guards positioned outside a door. Room 4912. Grizz didn't hesitate. He charged down the hallway, firing as he ran. 2 guards went down. The third turned toward him, and Bear took him out with a precise shot. Lily! Grizz shouted, kicking in the door. The room was empty. The TV was on, showing cartoons. A bowl of melted ice cream sat on the nightstand, but no Lily. It was a fake, Doc said, checking the closet. The video feed, pre-recorded. Grizz felt panic rising. Then where is she? His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Wrong floor, Mr. Masters, but full points for effort. Lily is somewhere safe, somewhere you'll never find her. Give up now and I'll make sure she has a good life. Keep fighting and I'll make sure she suffers. Below it, a new photo, Lily crying now, held by a man in a suit. No, Grizz breathed. No, no, no. Maria's voice came through the earpiece. Grizz, FBI just showed up. Someone called them. We've got maybe 5 minutes before this whole building is swarming with feds. I don't care about the FBI. I care about Lily. Grizz, listen to me. We need to pull out, regroup. We can't help her if we're all arrested. I'm not leaving without her. You have to. We'll find another way. But right now, we pull back. Bear grabbed Grizz's shoulder. Brother, she's right. We're blown. We need to go. Grizz wanted to argue, wanted to tear the entire building apart with his bare hands until he found his daughter. But he knew they were right. Move, he said through gritted teeth. They made it out just as FBI agents were pouring into the lobby. Maria had a van waiting 3 blocks away. They piled in, and she drove fast, taking side streets and alleys to avoid pursuit. The journal, Mouse said. Please tell me we still have the real one. Safe, Maria confirmed. Hidden somewhere, Wolfie will never find it. Doesn't matter, Grizz said, staring at the photo of Lily on his phone. He's got her. We're back where we started. No, Maria said firmly. We're not. We know who took her now. We know why. And we've got evidence. Real evidence, not just suspicions. We can stop him. How you heard what he said? He'll make Lily disappear. Probably already has her on a plane somewhere. Then we find out where, and we go get her. Back at Maria's office, they regrouped. The fake journal had bought them nothing but trouble. Wolf knew they were coming for him now. He'd be on guard. And worse, he'd be moving faster to complete the sale of Lily to the Hendersons. We need to find out where the Hendersons are, Mouse said, already working on his laptop. If we can track them, we can track Lily. Wolf said they were in the conference room. Doc added. They might still be in the building. Or they left when the alarms went off, Bear countered. Maria pulled up information on her computer. Gregory and Vanessa Henderson, CEO and CFO of Henderson Medical Supply, the same company Sarah worked for. They've got properties all over Miami, the Caymans, Switzerland, Monaco. Too many places to check, Grizz said, frustration building. We'll never find her in time. Wait, Mouse said, looking up from his screen. I'm in Wolf Tower's security system. Still have access from earlier. Let me check the garage cameras. They watched as Mouse pulled up footage from the building's underground parking. Timestamps showed activity from just after the alarms went off. A black SUV leaving the garage. In the back seat, barely visible, but unmistakable Lily. Gotcha, Mouse breathed. He tracked the vehicle's route through traffic cameras. They're heading toward the airport. Private terminal. How long ago was this? 20 minutes. Grizz was already moving. We need to go, now. Grizz, wait, Maria said. We can't just storm a private airport. We need a plan. My plan is to get my daughter back. You coming or not? Maria looked at the others. Bear, Doc, and Mouse all nodded. All right, she said, but we do this smart. We get one shot at this. They piled into two vehicles, Maria's van and Bear's truck. The drive to the airport took 15 minutes of aggressive driving and blown traffic lights. The private terminal was small, exclusive, and heavily secured. A single guard shack controlled access to the tarmac where several jets sat waiting. There, Doc pointed. That G650 looks like it's preparing for departure. Mouse used binoculars to scan the area. I see the Hendersons boarding now, and yeah, I see Lily. One of Wolf's guys is carrying her up the stairs. Grizz felt his heart clench. She looked so small, so scared. We can't let that plane take off, he said. How do we stop it? Bear asked. We try to breach the terminal. Security will shut us down before we get close. Maria was on her phone talking rapidly. She hung up and turned to the group. I called in a favor. Airport police are going to get an anonymous tip about a suspected kidnapping. They'll hold the plane for questioning. Will they actually stop it? Grizz asked. If we're lucky, if the Hendersons cooperate, if Wolf doesn't have someone inside to override it. Maria's expression was grim. It's not a guarantee. Then we don't wait for them. Grizz pulled his gun and checked the magazine. We go in now. That's suicide, Doc said. Armed assault on an airport. We'll all end up in federal prison. I don't care. That's my daughter on that plane. And you'll do her a lot of good from behind bars, Maria snapped. Think, Grizz. Use your head, not just your fists. Before Grizz could respond, Mouse held up his hand. Hold on, someone else is arriving. A sleek black car pulled up to the terminal. The door opened and Marcus Wolf stepped out. Son of a bitch came to watch, Bear growled. Wolf walked toward the jet, phone to his ear. He was smiling, confident, like he'd already won. Grizz's finger tightened on his gun. One shot. That's all it would take. But Maria grabbed his wrist. No, you shoot him here now in front of witnesses and you'll never see Lily again. Ever. Is that what you want? Grizz lowered the gun, but every muscle in his body was coiled tight. They watched as Wolf climbed the stairs to the jet. The door closed behind him. Engines began to spool up. No, Grizz breathed. No, they can't. Red and blue lights appeared. 3 airport police vehicles screamed onto the tarmac surrounding the jet. Officers piled out weapons drawn, shouting orders. The jet's engines powered down. Yes, Maria said, punching the air. Yes. They watched as the jet's door opened again. The Hendersons came out first, hands raised, looking confused and indignant. Then Wolf, his face a mask of barely controlled rage. And finally carried by one of Wolf's security guards, Lily. That's her, Grizz said. We need to get down there. Not yet, Maria cautioned. Let the police secure the scene first. We go charging in and we'll just complicate things. It was the longest 10 minutes of Grizz's life. He watched through binoculars as police questioned everyone, as they separated the adults. As they took Lily to one of the police vehicles, wrapped her in a blanket, gave her water. She was crying, looking around scared and confused. Now, Sarah, Maria said, let's go. They approached the terminal on foot, badges and credentials out. Maria did the talking, explaining to the officers that this was connected to an ongoing investigation, that the child was a kidnapping victim. One of the officers led them to the vehicle where Lily waited, and then Grizz was there pulling open the door, dropping to his knees in front of her. Lily, baby, it's me. It's Daddy. She looked up, tears streaming down her face. For a heart-stopping moment, Grizz thought she wouldn't recognize him. That too much had happened, too much trauma, and she'd forgotten. Then she threw herself into his arms. Daddy, Daddy, I was so scared. They took me and I didn't know where you were and shh, it's okay. I've got you. I've got you, baby girl. He held her tight, rocking her gently, whispering promises and reassurances. Behind him, he could hear Maria coordinating with the police, hear Wolf shouting about lawyers and false accusations. But none of that mattered. He had Lily. She was safe. She was in his arms. This time he wasn't letting her go. The interrogation room was cold and sterile. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting harsh shadows across the metal table. Marcus Wolf sat on one side, his expensive lawyer beside him. Across from them, FBI Special Agent Rachel Torres laid out photographs one by one. Photos from Anna Morrison's journal. Photos of children. Dozens of them. These are all victims of your trafficking operation, Torres said, her voice hard. We've identified 47 children over the past 10 years. 47 families destroyed. 47 lives stolen. Wolf's expression never changed. I don't know what you're talking about. Those photos could be from anywhere. They're from Anna Morrison's personal records. Records that detail every transaction, every placement, every payment, including the $200,000 the Hendersons paid for Lily Masters. Alleged records, which you obtained illegally, I might add. Any evidence gathered will be inadmissible in court. Torres smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. Actually, we obtained the journal through proper channels. Anonymous tip led us to it. Everything by the book. That wasn't entirely true, and everyone in the room knew it. But Maria had been careful. The journal had been discovered during a legal search of Anna Morrison's apartment. All the documentation was clean. Wolf's lawyer leaned in, whispering urgently. Wolf listened, then stood. This interview is over unless you're charging my client with something we're leaving. Oh, we're charging him, Torres said. Conspiracy to commit human trafficking, conspiracy to commit murder, kidnapping, racketeering. That's just for starters. You have no proof of any of that. We have the journal. We have testimony from Patricia Reeves before her very convenient accident. We have testimony from Officer Tom Fletcher, whose decided cooperation is better than prison time. And we have Lily Masters herself, who can identify your client and his associates. A child's testimony, unreliable at best. We also have financial records. Funny thing about traffickers, they always keep track of the money. And your client's money trail is very interesting. Payments to shell companies, transfers to offshore accounts, all of it matching up with the dates and amounts in Anna Morrison's journal. Wolf's expression finally cracked, just a little, just enough to show the fury beneath. My client has diplomatic connections, which won't help him here, Torres interrupted. We've been building this case for months, Mr. Wolf. Anna Morrison's death actually helped us. She wanted to make amends before she died. She didn't just keep a journal. She kept recordings, video evidence, names, dates, places, everything we need to dismantle your entire operation. That was a lie. Anna had left the journal but no recordings. But Wolf didn't know that. We're done here, the lawyer said, pulling Wolf toward the door. You can leave, Torres called after them, but we'll be filing charges within the hour. And Mr. Wolf, we've already frozen your assets, all of them, every account, every property, every investment. You're not going anywhere. The door slammed shut. Torres turned to the mirror, knowing Maria was watching from the other side. Think he'll run, she asked. He'll try, Maria's voice came through the speaker, but we've got eyes on him. He won't get far. In the observation room, Grizz watched Wolf's departing back with barely contained rage. He wanted to go after him, to finish what Wolf had started 5 years ago. But Lily was in the next room over, being examined by doctors and social workers, making sure she was physically unharmed, documenting everything for the case. She needed him more than his revenge did. He's going to pay, Maria said, reading Grizz's expression. The FBI has enough to put him away for life. Multiple life sentences, actually. Not enough. He killed Sarah. He stole 5 years of my daughter's life. And he'll answer for that. In court. The legal way. Grizz turned from the window. How long before I can take Lily home? That's complicated. Technically, you're not her legal guardian yet. The state took custody when she was reported as kidnapped. There'll be hearings, evaluations, paperwork. How long, Maria? She sighed. Couple weeks, maybe a month. But Grizz, that's actually fast. Usually these things take months. I've been pulling strings, calling in every favor I have. The Andersons have agreed to take her again temporarily, and you'll have unlimited visitation rights. I want her with me. I know, and you'll get there. But we have to do this right. Show the court that you're stable, that you can provide for her. You've got a record, Grizz. Assault charges, reckless endangerment. The judge is going to look at all of that. That was years ago. I've been clean since Sarah died. I know, and I'll testify to that. So will Bear and the others. We'll show them you've changed. But it's going to take time. Grizz wanted to argue, wanted to grab Lily and disappear, start over somewhere the system couldn't touch them. But that would make him a kidnapper, would make Lily a fugitive, would ruin any chance they had of a normal life. Fine, he said through gritted teeth. We do it your way, but I want to see her now. Of course, come on. Lily was in a small room decorated with colorful posters and toys, an attempt to make it less intimidating. She sat on a couch clutching a stuffed bear someone had given her, while a kind-faced woman asked her gentle questions. She looked up when Grizz entered, and her face lit up. Daddy? She ran to him, and he scooped her up, holding her close. The social worker smiled. I think we're done for today, she said. Lily's been very brave, very helpful. Thank you, Grizz managed. Once they were alone, Grizz sat on the couch with Lily in his lap. She snuggled against his chest, and he could feel her trembling slightly. Are the bad men gone? She asked quietly. Yeah, baby, they're gone. The police have them now. They can't hurt you anymore. I promise I'm never going to let anyone hurt you again. She was quiet for a moment. Then can I go home with you now? Grizz's heart broke. Not yet, sweetheart, but soon. You're going to stay with Mr. and Mrs. Anderson again for a little while, just until I get everything ready for us. But I want to stay with you. I know, and I want that too, more than anything. But I need to make sure I have a good place for us to live. A place where you'll be safe and happy. Can you be patient for me just a little longer? Lily nodded against his chest, but he could feel fresh tears soaking into his shirt. I'll visit every day, he promised, and call you every night before bed. You won't be alone, Lily. I'll always be right there. Okay, Daddy. They sat there for a long time just holding each other. Eventually, Mrs. Anderson arrived to take Lily to her home. Grizz walked them out to the car, helped buckle Lily into her seat. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Okay, I love you, Daddy. I love you too, baby girl. Watching the car drive away was agony, but Grizz forced himself to stand there until it disappeared from sight. Behind him, Maria put a hand on his shoulder. Come on, we've got work to do. The next 2 weeks were a blur of lawyers, judges, and social workers. Grizz had to prove he could provide for a child. Show he had stable income, a safe home, no criminal record that would disqualify him. He opened the motorcycle repair shop he'd been planning for years, Masters and Daughter Repairs. Used his savings to lease a small space-buy equipment, set up a legitimate business. Bear Mouse and Doc helped. They worked for free, helping him get the shop running. Brought in customers. Spread the word. You're doing good, brother, Bear said one evening as they closed up. Proud of you. Just trying to be the dad Lily deserves. You already are. Maria kept him updated on the case against Wolf. It was proceeding faster than usual, pushed along by FBI pressure and media attention. The story had broken billionaire businessman arrested for child trafficking. It was national news, which brought its own problems. You've got reporters camped outside the Andersons' house, Maria warned. They want to talk to you to Lily. Get your story. Not happening. I know. I've told them all to go through my office. But Grizz, some of this attention could actually help. Public sympathy could influence the custody hearings. I don't want my daughter exploited for sympathy. She's been through enough. Maria nodded. I'll keep running interference then. Despite the chaos, Grizz made good on his promise. He visited Lily every day at the Anderson home. They'd play in the backyard, work on puzzles, read books together. Slowly, day by day, they were learning how to be father and daughter again. She still had nightmares, still woke up screaming some nights. Mrs. Anderson would call Grizz and he'd rush over, hold Lily until she calmed down. The therapist says it's normal, Mrs. Anderson told him. She's processing trauma. It'll take time. How much time? However long she needs. But you being here, being consistent, that helps more than anything. 3 weeks after Wolf's arrest, the custody hearing finally arrived. Grizz wore his best clothes, jeans and a button-down shirt. It was the most formal he owned. Bear had offered to lend him a suit, but Grizz figured the judge should see him as he really was. The courtroom was smaller than he expected, just the judge, lawyers, and a few officials. Lily wasn't there. They'd spared her from having to testify. The state's attorney laid out the facts. Lily had been abducted as an infant. Her father, Grizz Masters, had believed her dead. Upon her return, he'd acted immediately to protect her. He'd cooperated fully with law enforcement. He'd established stable employment and housing. Character witnesses vouched for his reformation. However, the attorney added, Mr. Masters does have a criminal record, several assault charges from his time in a motorcycle club. While these charges are old, they do raise questions about his ability to provide a safe environment for a child. Grizz's lawyer stood, Your Honor, my client hasn't been in trouble with the law in over 5 years. He's built a legitimate business. He's done everything asked of him and more. And most importantly, Lily wants to be with him. Every social worker report shows a strong, healthy bond between father and daughter. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, reviewed the files in front of her. Mr. Masters, she said finally, approach the bench. Grizz stood, his heart pounding. I've read your file. Your past raises concerns, but I've also read the reports from the social workers, the therapists, the teachers. They all say the same thing, and Lily thrives when she's with you. She feels safe, secure. She is safe with me, Your Honor. I'd die before I let anyone hurt her again. I believe you would, which is why I'm granting temporary custody. You'll have a 6-month probationary period. During that time, you'll continue therapy sessions with Lily, continue meeting with your social worker, maintain stable employment. If everything goes well, we'll make the custody permanent. Relief flooded through Grizz so intensely he thought his knees might buckle. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You've got a lot of work ahead of you. Being a single father isn't easy, especially with a child who's been through trauma. You fail at this, Mr. Masters, and Lily goes into state care. Permanently. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am, I understand. Good. You can pick up Lily from the Andersons this afternoon. The bailiff will provide you with all the necessary paperwork. Grizz practically ran out of the courthouse. Maria was waiting outside and he picked her up in a bear hug. I got her. I've got custody. Maria laughed. I told you we'd make it happen. Congratulations, Grizz. I need to call the Andersons. Get Lily, set up her room. Oh God, I don't have a room set up yet. She'll need a bed, toys, clothes. Breathe, Maria said, putting her hands on his shoulders. One step at a time. The Andersons said they'd help. And Bear has some furniture his kids outgrew. We'll get everything sorted. Right, okay. Grizz took a deep breath. Let's go get my daughter. The Anderson house was familiar territory now. Grizz had been there so many times over the past weeks. But this time was different. This time he was taking Lily home. She was in the backyard when he arrived, pushing herself on the swing. When she saw him walking through the gate, she jumped off mid-swing and ran to him. Daddy, hey baby girl, got some news for you. Good news, the best news. You're coming home with me for good. No more temporary, no more waiting. You and me, we're a family now, official. Lily's eyes went wide. Really, 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 really. She screamed with joy as she jumped into his arms. Grizz spun her around, both of them laughing. Mrs. Anderson came out wiping tears from her eyes. We packed her things, not that she has much. Thank you, Grizz said, for everything, for taking care of her when I couldn't. It was our pleasure. She's a special little girl. You take good care of her. I will, I promise. They loaded Lily's few belongings into Grizz's truck, a small backpack of clothes, some stuffed animals, the photograph of her original family that she'd been clutching that day in the cemetery. Lily insisted on sitting in the middle of the front seat, pressed against Grizz's side as he drove. She talked nonstop about everything they do together. The shop school, getting a pet, learning to ride a bicycle. Grizz's apartment wasn't much. 2-bedroom, small kitchen, living room that doubled as a dining area, but it was clean and safe, and now it was home. Bear and Doc had set up the second bedroom while Grizz was in court. A twin bed with pink sheets, a small dresser, some toys and books they'd collected from thrift stores and donations. Lily walked in and gasped, "This is mine, all mine. All yours, baby. You can decorate it however you want." She ran to the bed and bounced on it, giggling. Then she noticed the drawings taped to the walls, pictures she'd made during art therapy sessions. Grizz had asked the therapist if he could keep them wanting Lily to feel like this was already her space. You saved my pictures. Of course I did. They're beautiful. That first night together was both wonderful and terrifying. Grizz made spaghetti for dinner, one of the few meals he could cook decently. They ate at the small kitchen table, Lily chattering about her day, about the new room, about everything. Bath time was a challenge. Grizz had never given a 5-year-old a bath before. He fumbled with water temperature and shampoo, getting almost as wet as Lily did. But they laughed through it. Bedtime was harder. Lily wanted 3 stories, 2 songs, and for Grizz to stay in the room until she fell asleep. He sat in the chair beside her bed, watching her eyes slowly close. Just as he thought she was out, she spoke. Daddy? Yeah, baby? Will you be here when I wake up? The question broke his heart. I'll be here. I'll always be here. I promise. Even if I have a bad dream, especially if you have a bad dream, you call for me and I'll come running. Okay, okay, she yawned. Daddy, yeah, I'm happy we found each other. Me too, baby girl, me too. The first few weeks were an adjustment. Grizz had to learn how to be a father, making lunches, scheduling and play dates, finding a good school. He made mistakes, burned breakfast, forgot to pack snacks, showed up late for pickup. But he learned. And more importantly, he showed up. Every single day, he was there for Lily. The shop started doing well. Word spread about the quality of Grizz's work, and customers came steadily. Enough to pay the bills and put a little aside for savings. Lily would do her homework at a small desk Grizz set up in the corner of the shop. Sometimes she'd help him by handing him tools or organizing parts. She loved it, loved being part of his work. The trial for Marcus Wolf happened 4 months after the custody hearing. It was a media circus. News vans lined the street outside the courthouse. Reporters shouted questions. Grizz attended every day, sitting in the gallery watching. Maria sat beside him, taking notes. The prosecution laid out their case methodically. Anna Morrison's journal, financial records, testimony from Patricia Reeves's sister, who'd found letters Patricia had written before her death, testimony from Officer Tom Fletcher, who'd been granted immunity in exchange for cooperation, and testimony from the Hendersons, who turned on Wolf to save themselves. The evidence was overwhelming, irrefutable. Wolf's defense tried to argue entrapment, illegal evidence, unreliable witnesses, but it fell flat. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. The courtroom erupted. Victims' families cried and hugged each other. Reporters rushed to file their stories. Grizz just sat there, feeling a weight he'd carried for 5 years finally lift from his shoulders. At sentencing 2 weeks later, the judge gave Wolf life in prison without possibility of parole, plus additional sentences for the murder of Sarah Masters, the kidnapping of Lily Masters, and dozens of other counts. You have destroyed countless lives, the judge said, torn apart families, traumatized children, all for profit. You will spend the rest of your natural life behind bars, and even that doesn't seem like sufficient punishment for what you've done. Wolf showed no emotion as he was led away in handcuffs. Outside the courthouse, Maria pulled Grizz aside. It's over. He's gone. You can move forward now. I know, it's just hard to believe it's really over. Believe it. And Grizz, she handed him an envelope. Anna Morrison's journal had other information about other cases, other missing children. Emma, Maria nodded, tears in her eyes. There was an entry, my Emma. She was placed with a family in Oregon. They renamed her Sophia. I've been in contact with them, and her voice broke. She's happy. She doesn't remember me, but she's alive and safe. That's good, Maria. That's really good. I'm going to see her next week, just to meet her, see her from a distance. The family's willing to send me pictures, updates. It's not what I hoped for, but it's something. Grizz hugged her. You gave me my daughter back. I'll never be able to repay you for that. You don't have to. Just be happy. Be a good dad. That's all the payment I need. 6 months later, the custody hearing to make Grizz's guardianship permanent went smoothly. Lily had been in therapy, was doing well in school, had friends. The social worker's reports were glowing. The judge made it official. Lily Masters was legally Grizz Masters' daughter. They celebrated at Joe's Diner, the place where it had all started. Lily got a stack of pancakes with extra syrup. Grizz got coffee and pie. Bear, Mouse, and Doc joined them along with Maria. To new beginnings, Bear said, raising his coffee cup. They all clinked cups, even Lily with her orange juice. A year after finding each other in the cemetery, Grizz and Lily had settled into a routine, a life. The shop was thriving. Grizz had hired a young kid Tommy as an apprentice, teaching him the trade, giving him the kind of second chance Grizz had been given. Lily was in first grade getting straight A's. She'd made friends, real friends. She had play dates and birthday parties, and all the normal things little girls should have. The nightmares still came sometimes, but less frequently. And when they did, Grizz was always there. They'd moved to a bigger place, a small house with a yard and a fence. Grizz built Lily a swing set, himself sweating through weekends to get it perfect. On the one-year anniversary of finding each other, they went back to the cemetery. Together. They stood in front of Sarah's grave, the real one where Sarah actually rested. Lily placed flowers on the headstone. "Hi, Mama," Lily said softly. "I'm okay now. Daddy takes really good care of me. I think you'd like him. He's trying really hard." Grizz put his hand on Lily's shoulder, tears running down his face. "We're going to be okay, Sarah," he said. "I'm going to make sure of it. I'm going to be the man you always believed I could be, the father Lily deserves." They stood there for a while in comfortable silence. Then Lily took Grizz's hand. "Can we go home now, Daddy?" "Yeah, baby, let's go home." As they walked back to the truck, Lily swung their joined hands. "Daddy, yeah, can we get ice cream on the way home?" Grizz laughed. "Sure, kiddo. Ice cream sounds perfect." The sun was setting as they drove home, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Lily chatted about her day at school, about her friends, about the science project she wanted to do. Grizz listened, soaking in every word. This was his life now, his real life. Not the violence and chaos of his past, but the simple moments with his daughter. Ice cream runs and bedtime stories and homework help. At home, they sat on the front porch, eating their ice cream as the stars came out. Lily leaned against Grizz's side, content. "Daddy, I'm glad Anna told me where to find you." Grizz kissed the top of her head. "Me too, baby girl. Me too." They sat there until the ice cream was gone and the night air grew cool. Then Grizz carried a sleepy Lily inside, tucked her into bed, and read her a story. As he turned out the light, he paused in the doorway, looking at his daughter. Her peaceful face, her gentle breathing. 5 years ago, he'd been a broken man with nothing to live for. Now he had everything. "Thank you," he whispered to the darkness. To Sarah, to Anna, to whatever force had brought Lily back to him. Then he quietly closed the door and went to his own room. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. There would be hard days ahead. But for the first time in years, Grizz Masters faced the future with hope instead of dread. He had his daughter, he had his life back, and he was never letting go again.